What up, YouTube? Team Movies here. Since it is, of course, October 1st, this whole month I am going to be doing my reviews for past horror movies from the 1st to the 31st. Because this is the scary time of month. Like Chris from 3C film says, this is Spooky Mama's month. So we're pretty much in the month of October, so it's time to talk spooky. And so the first horror film I'm going to be doing my review for is the 1984 horror slasher film A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, I probably could go ahead and do my reviews for the sequels as well, but I ain't gonna have much time for that. So I'm just gonna talk about the very first Nightmare on Elm Street. And where do I begin? I mean, Freddy Krueger, he is pretty much up there as one of the most iconic horror villains of all time. He's, of course, up there with Jason, with Michael Myers, with Chucky. I mean, this guy pretty much just kills you when you're sleeping. Yeah, like when this guy's around, you might want to stay away because this guy will kill you when you're sleeping. Like this guy will kill you in your dreams, and that is probably one of the most spookiest premise of all time. This movie is the reason why so many people are afraid to sleep. Yeah, and Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, what more can you say? It is of course directed by Wes Craven, which, by the way, crazy fact about the creation of Freddy Krueger. Wes Craven actually based Freddy Krueger on someone who used to bully him in high school. So, hey, if someone's bullying you in high school, when you get older, you can make a film that's pretty much based on them. So, yeah, but anyway, I mean, this is definitely one of Wes Craven's best work. I mean, of course, he is the same guy who gave us movies such as Scream, The Hills Have Eyes. I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street holds up perfectly. It premiered all the way back in 1984. It actually premiered on November 9th, 1984 from New Line. It even featured a very young Johnny Depp. You also had Robert Englund, who portrays the role of Freddy Krueger. You even had the likes of the late John Saxon, Heather Langenkamp, Amanda Wise. I mean, you have some really decent supporting cast members in this, and it is so iconic. I mean, it has some iconic moments, like the phone scene. I mean, him pretty much stick his tongue out to that phone. I mean, yeah, you don't want to be on a phone, look at a phone the same way after seeing that part. Uh, Obviously, one of the most iconic scenes in this film is when is Johnny Depp's step scene, where he gets sunk underneath the bed. I mean, yeah, this movie goes all out. It's definitely one of the best horror movies of the '80s. Freddy Krueger, like he's so wisecracked, like he makes some really fun jokes in this, and he's definitely one of the most iconic horror villains there is. I mean, Freddy Krueger has gone through. He was of course in a remake, which by the way I didn't mind the remake so much. It wasn't as good as the original, obviously, but the remake wasn't so bad in my opinion. Of course, Freddy Krueger did face off once with Jason Voorhees with Freddy versus Jason. Of course, there was New Nightmare, there was Dream Warriors. I mean, the sequels aren't like they aren't as great as the first film. The first film always holds up. The title is like when you say Nightmare on Elm Street, people automatically know what you're talking about. Definitely one of the most popular horror movies of the '80s. It's a horror film that still gets that. I gotta say, it's pretty much a horror film that that still holds up today. There's sometimes still be stuff like movies from the '80s or '70s that don't really hold up today. I feel like A Nightmare on Elm Street holds up. And Freddy Krueger is just one of the most iconic horror villains there is. He's so disfigured. Uh, Robert England, one of the greatest roles of his, in my opinion. I mean, no one can do this role justice. I'd love to see him back again in the future. I'm hoping we do get another Nightmare on Elm Street. Like we haven't heard any reports about any new ones, but hey, I'm down to see one. It's such a really imaginative horror film that pretty much provides shook to keep fans, of the horror genre happy. The suspense, the great buildup of the suspense is great. Craven, pretty much uses the nightmare sequences with surrealist novelists here. It's like Freddy is so terrifying. I mean, this guy has claws for hands. yeah, he makes the Wolverine look frightening, you know. But yeah, I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street is just one of the greatest horror films there is. It's definitely it's definitely up there in my top favorite. And yeah, I mean, if you guys have never really seen the original Nightmare on Elm Street, you can actually find it on HBO Max. You can also find it on you can even rent it on Apple, Fandango, Vudu, Prime Video. Go watch A Nightmare on Elm Street. You'll definitely be happy. You're probably not gonna want to sleep for a while, but you'll still enjoy it. Anyway, let me lead you guys. Have you ever what were your thoughts on the original Nightmare on Elm Street? Were you a fan of it? Were you not a fan of it? Where does Freddy Krueger rank in your top favorite horror villains? Like, were you ever a fan of Freddy Krueger? What out of all the Nightmare films, which one was out of all the sequels, remake, which one was actually your favorite? Drop comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell for more notification. This is Henry sign out.